This week on Rockstar Superhero.
Mirrors and smoke, hit it with a fresh coat. If the ship floats, run into the main line. Sugar sweet with a bitter beat. Strip the pain, you just bring your brain remains no blind. Conspire to keep it quiet.
From childhood athlete to rising heavy music legend, Josh Smith of Australia's Northlane is keen to put the past behind him. Focused on the moment, Josh's band is ready to release their visionary new work, the stunning Obsidian. And I have to say, steel yourself, because this new record, hitting the shelves on April 22nd, is a masterpiece and the timing couldn't be better. This is their anthem, their moment, their zenith, their apex. So far, I'm 100% positive we haven't even seen what they're truly capable of, and I can't wait to experience what comes next. But what we have for now is utterly amazing. You'll see. This is my first time chat with one of the sweetest artists I've ever had the honor to meet. This is Josh Smith. This is Northlane. And this is Rockstar Superhero.
To remember that you're toxic. Wherever your lies, pretending we're outside.
What's going on, Rob? I appreciate you working with my insane time zone.
Yeah.
As I live on the other side of the world to you. But it's great to be on the show with you today.
Oh, man. Well, thank you. You know, I'll say the same, actually, in the opposite meaning. Thanks for doing this so early in the morning, because I can't imagine having to talk to me so early.
Well, here's the thing. Usually I'm awake at 5:30 every day. So for me to do an interview at 10, it's no problem at all.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm completely blown out of the water that you're doing this, man. I have to tell you. So I'm gonna break a lot of taboos today, because I'm gonna expose all the things I don't know. Okay, is that cool?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So I have to say the first thing first. I'm embarrassed that I don't know much about you, and that I had to do a ton of research in the last week to discover you, because the fact is, you know, the weird part about living in the United States is you'd think we would hear everything from everywhere, you know, because this is where the music business is sort of centrally located, and we have Hollywood and we have all these things that kind of go with the entertainment business. But it's amazing to me how much we don't know about the world of music, meaning the world of music. And, you know, I've only become a recent fan of yours. I actually discovered you through a mutual friend, Josh from Sugar Spine. And I have become a massive fan in the last 3 weeks. So
That's cool.
Yeah. So I admit it. You're a new strike for me. You're a new discovery, but I love the fact that I am discovering you on the cusp of true global domination. So my first question would be, what do you think about the process of building a brand and the time it takes? Because you guys have been out there a long time. So is it worth the painful birthing process, or do you wish it was easier?
Well, I don't think anything good comes easy in this life.
Yeah.
And I think if anything good does come easy, then you really don't appreciate it for what it is. And for us in Northlane, it's been an incredibly slow burn over the years. And it's kind of, you know, it's made the juice taste a little sweeter.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's also, I think it's indicative of a stable long-term career in music as well, for you to have that kind of gradual growth, because I do, you know, we could get into it later, but I actually manage other artists myself and self-manage Northlane. And one of the things that I've always noticed is the bands that are really consistent and grow really consistently always seem to, you know, outlast the ones that will blow up really quick, have a lot of opportunities handed to them, but not really, you know, think about what their long-term path is going to look like. So, you know, for us, I think it's just a combination of making a lot of good decisions and really focusing on writing the best songs that we can and just being true to ourselves.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up the way you put it, because I think about the child star, right? The little kid that gets really big, really fast, and has almost nowhere to grow from. And then, excuse me, I'm dealing with a cold, that implodes a few years into their career. And a lot of them don't make it out of childhood. So I agree with you. The slow burn is everything.
No, totally.
Yeah. As a person, meaning you, the artist, as the development of you came along, if you don't mind talking about it, I don't want to get too personal here, but how did the early environment in your family, in your neighborhood, in your school push you towards who you've become as a musician and a songwriter, the Josh I'm talking to today?
Yeah, well, I mean, firstly, I'll just say that I'm not the primary songwriter in Northlane. So,
okay.
John, the other guitar player, he writes pretty much all of the music, and I did write vocals for quite a long time with Marcus, but now he's kind of taken ownership of that.
That's good.
So we just all kind of stick to our strengths. But yeah, I mean, my childhood was an interesting one. Like, it was pretty good for the most part, but I was actually an elite athlete as a kid.
Oh.
So, for me, it was pretty brutal. Like I was a swimmer, and from about the age of 11, I was training upwards of 20 hours a week.
Wow.
So wake up at 4:30, train for 2 hours, go to school, train for another 2 hours after school. As I got a little older, I started hitting the gym as well. So, for me, like, life was always really focused and goal-oriented, and it's kind of transpired into who I am today.
Yeah. I love that you've said this, because it actually gives me a view. If you think about it, the listeners, the people who are listening right now should think about this. We're talking to a person who's on the cusp of significant global breakthrough in the music business, somebody who's developed over a long period of time. And that's, in a sense, based on the fact that you talk about growing up as a swimmer and as an elite athlete. You've basically had a number of careers over your life, but what you've learned how to do is how to commit to something really difficult, how to do something very few people have the staying power for, right? Even getting up early. So it makes sense. Yeah.
Staying power is a good word for it, actually, because there's a lot of persistence involved, and with being a professional musician, it's a very difficult career choice. It's incredibly rewarding, but a lot of it is quite painful. And I think the life I sort of lived growing up definitely prepared me for it in a very unique way.
Yeah. I'll tell you, man, I don't even know where to go from that, because it's so true. Well, no, because it's, I was thinking about, it's funny. You mentioned the swimming. Okay. So yeah, I try to obviously work my own story into your story, but I grew up swimming and I was a massive failure. I mean, a massive, massive failure as a swimmer. Okay. Yeah. But I'm a musician as well. And so I always found that, okay, you have to go after your strengths, but you have to find your joy, right? The thing that makes you want to do it when nothing else sounds okay. There has to be something that feels that there's a deep desire inside of you that pushes you through all the feelings of yuck, being too tired and whatnot. And I'm curious, was there a moment as a swimmer where you said, you know what, I'm going to take that energy and I'm going to move it into this? Like, what was the switch over for you?
Well, I played guitar growing up the whole time as well.
Okay.
And I went from swimming to triathlon because swimming wasn't doing it for me.
Good God, man.
And recently I've gotten back into that, but we could touch on that later. so I actually had like a bit of a mental health crisis when I was about 18, and just realized there was all this other stuff that I'd never had time to do growing up, because my life was so regimented and like busy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I just kind of stepped away from elite sport and just decided, I wanted to really kind of focus on music. And I went to university as well. I studied economics and marketing, and I hated it.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, that was probably the turning point for me, where I kind of realized what I really had passion for, which was music. But I kind of just felt like I was always doing what I needed to do, to an extent. Like I had the expectation of I had to go and study. I should be doing these things that, are going to give me a stable life and all that, and kind of threw it in the bin, to be honest.
Well, okay, so this touches on something obviously very intense and very personal. I don't know how comfortable you are talking about that, but would you be open to me asking a question about that?
Yeah, sure.
So one of the key focuses of this show actually is the artist's journey, and going from that early stage where everything feels good, right? The excitement of being a musician and the potential of being, I don't want to say a celebrity, but the idea, right, of being somebody that other people listen to and admire from a distance. And I'm curious, I'm not saying that applies to you, but so many artists I know write music because what they're actually seeking is the fulfillment that they don't get, either at home or just how they feel about themselves. I actually struggle with this myself. I actually still struggle with this as an interviewer, a podcaster, is will people listen to this and will they find value in it? And it's a lot easier when somebody says, "Good job, Rob." But I'm curious, how did you catch yourself in it? How did you know you were going through a mental health crisis, and how did you get out of it?
Oh, well, I was like fully suicidable when I was 18.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So it was like rock bottom. Like I went to like a fucking, can I say fuck?
Yeah, you just did, but it's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I had like an extended stay in a mental health ward. And it took me probably 5 years from that low point to turn my life around completely and kind of have a healthy mind again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know how I got there, to be honest. I think there was a lot of stuff going on. I think part of it was I got like prescribed an acne medication called Roaccutane, and one of the known side effects of that drug is for it to cause depression. And I was also being prescribed really strong sleeping pills because I couldn't sleep because of the antidepressants that I were on that kind of made the problem even worse because they're incredibly addictive. So I kind of got lost with what I was saying, but it took me a long time to turn all that around. And I guess like the turning point for me was kind of being in this ward and like seeing the other people that I was in there with and just going, I really don't want to end up like these people, and I'm not a victim. And a lot of them, the people I was talking to, did have this sort of victim mentality, and I was like, well, that's not who I am. And I kind of say that from a position of privilege because I probably didn't have to go through the same struggles that they did, but we all go through our own. So yeah, I guess for me, the self-fulfillment thing that you're talking about, it's always come from within, and whether it's come from music or other pursuits that I've had in life, I've always had to chase something, But yeah, for me, music was was always the biggest passion there.
Yeah, that's good. Well, so it seems to me then you figured something out, right? Because I mean, here I am talking to you and you're clearly, well, I mean, you seem to be filled with joy. I use that word a lot to describe people like you, who have found a place to be, right? But I'm curious, one of the things that helps us get there is we have we have to understand that we have self-destructive, self-loathing habits, behaviors that sort of take us down a notch. And then when coupled with the medication, like you were talking, where your brain chemistry gets knocked off its course because you're ingesting things that are literally fucking you up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When was the moment that you recognized, oh, I am behaving like this? What was there not just a depression, not just a sadness, but was there a moment where you realized you knew this was your bottom? Is that too dark to talk about?
To be honest, I don't know, because I don't know if this is healthy or not, but I've really blocked that time of my life out.
That's fine.
And I don't know when that moment was, but it was kind of more of a period of about 6 months.
Wow. Wow.
And yeah, I coming out the other side, I was just really focusing on the things that I liked, and it was when music was really speaking to me. And I think that's one of the things that kind of gives my life purpose now, is that I know that if I'm involved with something that people are emotionally connecting with, then I'm doing something good for the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I won't stay on this, and mostly because I've pricked the balloon enough. You know what I mean? We've let enough air out of that. But I appreciate your honesty, and thank you so much, because I think it's so important, Josh, for people to hear that they aren't alone, and especially when you're talking about a band like Northlane that has significant worldwide following, right? And now you're, again, and I mentioned the word breakout, but you're in this huge position to do something extreme, and the response in the world seems to be not only overwhelmingly positive, but highly anticipatory, right? Because they know that Obsidian is coming out soon, and I've heard Carbonized, of course. I've heard a number of the pieces you've done, but how does it feel maybe to be on the front lines of this release, knowing that the fan base is sort of at its apex, and that the general public is now actually waiting with bated breath?
It's really strange after the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I felt really disconnected from what I was doing throughout COVID, and living in Melbourne through everything that happened, it's pretty full on. I spent over 600 days in lockdown.
Brutal. Yeah,
it was really full on here, and we definitely felt really far removed from our fans. So we've played a festival a couple of weeks ago in a small headline show in a regional town in Australia, and I think that really put in perspective for me again that what we're doing is real and it's concrete, and having people so excited about us releasing music still is incredible. And I don't really tend to dwell on it or think about it too much. But this time it feels more positive than it ever has, and
right.
I'm really excited to be sharing what we've been working on with people again.
That's good. You mentioned 600 days. In America, we had weeks here, weeks there, a lot of fear, but we didn't have a full-on, almost like a martial law experience that I've seen so many countries around the world. Why do you think Australia was so hardcore and intense? Was I mean, I know maybe we're going to go down the politics road, and I don't want to do that, but you know, I've read and I know from some other friends who've been like, dude, you have no idea how fucked up it is in Australia right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm curious. I just, you know what I mean?
To be honest, I mean, partially, I don't know.
Okay.
Some of it had to do with vaccine procurement, which our government didn't do a very good job of.
Gotcha.
But yeah, in regards to like the lockdowns and stuff, that was actually handled by the states.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't the federal government, which were the ones that didn't get the vaccines for us. So I mean, I guess they were just trying to save people's lives, and I think in Australia we have a really different idea of freedom to what our American friends have, and you know, that's fine. It's just a different culture. But I think, you know, people here are, I mean, strangely enough, we're pretty supportive of what was happening, and I definitely saw the sense in it. However, it was an incredibly difficult period, especially because we didn't know what was going to happen. The worst part about it was, though, like, you know, a lot of industries got a lot of support for having to shut down and whatnot, but the arts got absolutely shafted. So, you know, after all that, I definitely lost a lot of faith in our government and politics in general. Something that I didn't have a lot of to begin with. And I don't, honestly, I don't know why they were so heavy-handed, but I guess like everyone around the world was trying to strike a balance, in essence, and I don't think anyone got it right, to be honest.
No.
You know, more than anything, it just showed me how incredibly incompetent governments around the world are, like beyond belief.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what side of politics you sat on, nobody knew what they were doing. But yeah, you know, for us, like Melbourne's lockdowns were pretty full on. We had 2 of them that went for about 3 months straight. And like it was like you couldn't go more than 5 kilometers from your house, and
were they tracking you?
I don't know if they're tracking you, but like so because I'm a triathlete, right? I'm love to go out riding my bike. Like, it's my freedom is that. Like, I love open water swimming. I love cycling with my friends. Like, we'll go, like, you know, last weekend I rode like 220 Ks on Saturday. I think that's 100 and I don't know how many miles.
It's a long ways. It's like 150 miles.
Yeah.
That's a long ways.
Yeah, and I love that. You know, it's a bit sadistic, but I love it. And like there was like police in all the cycling hotspots in Melbourne, like waving people down and checking their addresses and stuff. So I don't know if they were tracking people per se, but if you got caught in the wrong place, like you're gonna get in a lot of trouble. Yeah.
Well, okay, so this actually leads all towards Obsidian for me, because I mean, it's interesting, Josh, how much your world has colored this new album, right? I mean, first of all, I have to say this out loud because, you know, the label will kill me if I don't. Obsidian comes out on Friday, April 22nd, which is in 3 days for me and 2 days for you. But you know, I mean, to me, the album is kind of, again, I mentioned Apex. It's an apogee. It's a zenith. It's a top of the game type of record. And I don't think you get there if you don't walk through this myriad of experiences you've personally walked through, as well as your mates, because, you know, you said you're not the primary songwriter. I apologize because I actually thought you were. For some reason, my brain had put that together. But all that said, you know, you can't be Northlane, the Northlane we are experiencing today, if it isn't colored by the world around you, right? And your experiences and or your fantasies. So, I'm curious if you're willing to share a secret about the record. Is there something hidden? Is there a message inside the album?
I don't know if there's a message inside the album. I think it's really dark and it's kind of lacking in hope.
Yeah, it is
really
dark. It's brutal stuff.
That's why we called it Obsidian. I think that there's a bit of silver lining in it, and I think some of that came from how and when we recorded it. So we actually managed to hire this Airbnb out and record it there, and it was like this amazing like mansion of a house that was up in a place called the Dandenong Mountains, which are just outside of Melbourne, and it's like this incredible place, like just absolutely breathtaking. And the house was like right on top of the mountain, and we recorded it there. Mm-hmm. And it was really cool because after all the isolation and stuff that we'd gone through, we got to go and do the record at this beautiful natural place where everyone was comfortable for once, which is something that we haven't really had recording an album before. So, I mean, for me, the album's really bleak. But, Marcus has his moments where he's kind of written some positivity into it as well. And whether or not that came from the location, I don't know. I know that he took a huge blow to his confidence being isolated, and it was something that he'd been working on for a really long time. So for him to come out of that isolation and, put his voice to tape was really difficult for him, and he really struggled for a while. But we got there in the end.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man. I mean, you guys have been together. Been together a long time. You've been around. I mean, you've obviously had some changes over the years. Every band goes through these changes and upheaval and whatnot. But what I love is you've stuck to the core vision and the sound, and it's only accelerated. From everything I can tell, right, in my own limited experience listening to your band, but. I'm going to get a little silly here, but I was thinking about this morning. It's like if I were to compare you to Rush, okay, look, you sound nothing like Rush.
Canada's finest.
Right, Canada's finest. But I'm not saying you sound like Rush, okay, but just bear with me here. But if I were to talk about album releases, Alien was your breakthrough. It was it was the moment when people started to realize, oh, this band actually means business. And I'm not saying that things before it didn't count, but Alien was your 2112. And to me, Obsidian seems to be, bear with me, seems to be a complex songwriting superstorm. And it's your moving pictures, man. I mean, I think clearly it's your best work. It's your most mature work. It isn't just your most recent work, if that makes sense. And there's something so breathtaking about it that it doesn't matter if it's angry, because it couldn't be exceptional if it wasn't truthful, and it's truthful. So there isn't a question in there. I just wanted to make that comment because I really do see this as your moving pictures.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean,
incredible.
We're always uneasy and also proud of everything that we do.
Yeah.
And releasing music is always terrifying because you don't know how people are going to take to it. But like I said earlier in the chat, I don't think we've ever had this much overwhelming positivity to singles that we've released before. Yeah. And they've all been very out there. I mean, we're really looking forward to what's to come. And we've got 2 tours on sale at the moment as well that are both selling better than any tour that we've.
I'll be there.
Sounds good. They all are selling better than any tours we've put on sale before, and I know that other tours here and there are struggling at the moment. So, for us to be, having these wins after everything that we've been through is pretty incredible to me. And, more than anything at this point, after what we've had to go through for the last 2.5, 3 years, is more than anything, we're just grateful to still be doing this. And we're grateful that we're able to do this full time and, focus on our music and being a band, because there's many others that aren't afforded that opportunity, and a lot of people's dreams kind of came to an abrupt halt over the last 2 years. So more than anything, we're grateful that people still care.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love that you're saying that too. And it's good because as far as timing is concerned, I mean, when you have something like COVID that shuts the world down, as you mentioned, for a number of years, the only thing that comes out of it that's good is that there's finally opportunity. We can go after the things we've been sitting on for such a long time. And, it's interesting too, because when Carbonized came out, of course I jump on that like a, rat eating a hot potato, because that's a freaking badass song. I've had it stuck in my head for 2 weeks now, and I love it. But what blew me away was that the listenership, the views on the video on YouTube was over 1 million, like that. And again, going back to the American thing about how we don't necessarily, as a pop culture world, experience, a heavy, hardcore, aggressive band like yours, doesn't necessarily end up on the radio, right? So to see it on YouTube, to have all these views, and as you mentioned, these tours selling out like crazy, something incredible is going on. But I have to ask a question, and not to go back to negativity, but because you're in the arts, I mean, you have to be really good sort of at hitting back at critics or, naysayers and fans. How do you deal with that? Do you?
I honestly, I just don't give a shit anymore. I used to.
Nice.
I mean,
you've grown up.
Yeah. I read this review the other day for the record that wasn't very good, and
they're wrong.
And it was just really poorly written as well. Like, it was just an embarrassingly unprofessionally written review. But pretty much this person had said, I got 3 tracks in and didn't think this was for me, so I skipped it. But also kind of leading into that, he kind of said that he'd never really given a shit about our entire subgenre of music, but he grew up, and that's why he's going to do the review on it. And it actually made Marcus a bit upset.
Yeah.
And then I read it, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? He's like sitting on the couch, probably drinking a fucking 2-liter Coke, eating corn chips, and like writing bullshit on the internet. Like, I wonder how his life is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just, I don't care, because we've gotten to a point where, for some definition of the word, we're successful, and this is our career, and somebody's opinion can't take that away from us. So for us to get to do this full time and live off it, and also have a lot of people that connect and care about what we're doing, like, I don't know, people that don't like it can't take that away from me. So well, I think if you allow people to take happiness away from you in that respect, then you kind of let them win.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And the best thing that you can do is just hold your head up and continue to succeed, because if for some reason what you do pisses them off, then I think success is the best form of revenge.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, I will say with this, thanks for hiring Nolly to do the mixing, because that man might be the best in the business. I mean, outside of maybe Andy Wallace, his tones are so thick and precise and glassy and punchy. And I mean, obviously you guys had a say in the production, of course, but you got to give it to Nolly, man.
Well, yeah, I'll take a step back. So I think Nolly is. I agree with everything you said, but I think the one person who doesn't get enough credit and was equally involved on Alien as well is Chris Blancato.
Oh,
so Chris,
good job, Chris.
He was he was one of my friends from high school. We grew up together, and we were like, our childhood was kind of like the movie Metal Lords. That was us at school. We were these metalheads that were probably really annoying. Yeah. And yeah, he recorded the last 2 records for us. So in the sense of a producer, John has kind of taken on that role, and it's very much our vision that gets stamped on the final product, but he helps us realize it. So, you know, those sounds are captured by Chris. And then Nolly's done the most incredible job at mixing it, and Erman's mastered it as well. But we really have a lot of control over what we do now. So we're independently releasing the record as well. So, you know, every step of the process is really just our complete blueprint these days.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So again, as an old guy who didn't quite make it, I love seeing somebody like you having this success, because obviously I love the music. I wouldn't have wanted to have talked to you if I didn't love the music. But I love to live vicariously through these incredible musicians, and you're one of them. And I read before, of course, we jumped on today, that you guys are going out on tour with Sleep Token and Pliny this summer. And I'll tell you, so I've never seen any of you guys live. I've dreamt about Sleep Token. They just don't seem to come to the States or get around the States. And Pliny, I've just always missed him. But how did this tour come together? And I can't wait.
Well, that tour is actually the Australian one.
Oh, what?
Sorry to bust the bubble. No.
Holy crap, I'm so pissed off right now. For my listeners, I'm leaning back in my chair, frowning.
There's a different lineup for the US one. There's Silent Planet and A Void, and then there's an artist that we're not allowed to announce yet. But Australia is the one you're talking about, and it's actually going to be winter here as well. So that's 2 strikes for you today, Rob.
Well, okay. So I thank God I'm not getting paid to do this, because I would have been fired instantly. I'm glad I'm not your PR director. Oh my gosh. Wow. I feel like a moron, but I'm going to leave this in the show because I want people to know I tried.
Hey, everyone makes mistakes.
And I still want to see Sleep Token and Pliny. So
of course,
bring that stuff here, man, somehow, someday. Wow. Okay. So you are coming to tour this summer. After that tour there, you're coming here like in July, I want to say.
Yeah, July, August. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm officially happy then. So I always like to end this with a really simple question. It's a wish question. You know, when you were a little kid and you dream about a future, and you dream maybe, you know, once you were done swimming and you really started focusing on guitar, you know, did you have a dream of becoming the famous thing? Did you dream about celebrity? Did you dream about, you know, did you have fantasies about money or girls or a mansion? Did you have any of that?
No, fuck no.
That's why you're successful.
Well, no, seriously, like
I guarantee that's why you're successful.
It's funny because I see a lot of bands focus, like they get into music for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
And the wrong reasons are all the ones that you just listed.
Yep, exactly.
Because if that's what you're looking for, like you should go work in finance or be a lawyer.
Well, you can get it at a pub, but you're not gonna get it for real. It's not gonna stick.
Yeah, exactly. So do what you love and work really hard at it, and maybe you'll get those things, but you probably won't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Well, so then the last question: what do you wish you knew back then? You know, when you were growing up, what would you have changed, or you know, what do you wish somebody had taught you?
That's a pretty wild question. I kind of see life as a bunch of learning experiences, and the person I am today is, you know, composed from all of these prior experiences that I've had. So I don't really consider anything that I've done a mistake, because I always made the best decision with the knowledge that I had available at the time. So, yeah, I there was a long time where my fitness kind of took a back seat and I was focusing on music. And had I done it again, like I wish I'd stayed more involved in sport over those years, but at the same time, stepping away from it gave me the passion that I have for it again now. So I don't know if I regret anything, to be honest. I'm really happy with where I've ended up and what I've been able to do.
Yeah. Okay, so that actually makes me ask one more thing. And I'm like, dude, stop. You said you were done. When you were talking earlier about all the things we've discussed, we never once talked around family and that influence there. Were your parents encouraging to you as a musician coming off of the elite sports focus?
I wouldn't say encouraging, but they didn't really discourage it. I don't know if they thought I could actually make a career out of it.
Sure. It's a tough world.
Yeah, but I guess they were always supportive. I guess they just trusted me. Don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. I think they were upset, like, when I left university to go on tour. But I honestly don't know. They never expressed it. Yeah, I guess it worked out okay.
I've got no heroes anymore.